I had been selected for a most important journey. I was to help fulfill the destiny of the two great ones, Bill and Ted.
Wild Stallions rule!
Whenever time stands still and trouble moves too fast, to save the future, we must learn about the past. Whoa!
Excellent!
Bill and Ted
Bogus!
adventures, most outstanding every day. It's outrageous, so bodacious, help is always on the way. Bill and Ted's excellent adventures, it's a party, that's for sure. Bill and Ted's most excellent adventures.
Most triumphant!
Hello and welcome to SMPD, the podcast where we look back at the cartoons that shaped our childhood. I am Chris Bolton. With me, as always, my cartoon compatriot, Mr. Mark Williams.
Hello.
And this episode, we are looking back at, in what would be a timely manner, I suppose, looking back at Bill and Ted's excellent adventures.
Yeah, now just to clarify, this is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, the animated version, not the really shitty, short-lived thing that came after it.
Well, there was another one?
There was a live-action one in 1992.
No, I don't remember that. Who played Bill and Ted?
The same dickheads who played him in season 2 of the animated version.
I was going to say, right, because I remember they changed... I can remember this even as a kid. They changed voices in the animated version.
Yeah, so what happened was it was originally done by Hanna-Barbera for CBS. Was it CBS? Yeah.
It was definitely Hanna-Barbera, I know that.
Yeah, much. It was CBS. And then it went over to our old friends Deet and showed on Fox Kids.
Never not funny.
And it started on Fox Kids. And in that crossover, they basically replaced the movie cast with two fucking douche monkeys who didn't really get what was going on. So the second animated season had like 8 episodes, and then they shot this live action thing with not Keanu Reeves and not Alex Winter and not George Carlin, and they then didn't release it until after Bogus Journey turned a profit because they had that little faith in it. I
mean, that's just weird. Like, I have a lot of time for Bill and Ted. It's a fandom that I wouldn't say heavily involved in, but I have a lot of time for Bill and Ted. Having said that, I didn't know that there was this live action thing. Now, I have, however, I've mentioned on loads of these podcasts in the past, I do have somewhat of affinity for theme parks. And as a result, I've seen the Bill and Ted show that they run at Universal, or did run at Universal every Halloween till like 2 years ago, very recently. And that's okay. They cast live action actors as Bill and Ted, but you're viewing them from a distance because they're on stage and they do a fairly good job. They're essentially doing a Keanu Reeves, Alex Winters impression, but that's from a distance. How do you recast Bill and Ted on film where you can see him close up and it's clearly not Keanu Reeves and Alex? These are roles that you just can't recast.
No.
And this is why I think, and we'll get onto this, probably the second season of the cartoon didn't work as well.
Yeah.
There is something about the chemistry between those two leads that just makes Bill and Ted what it is. Because otherwise, let's be fair, they're very one note, but there is something about the chemistry between Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves that just makes this stuff soar. And so I just can't imagine it with any other actors.
It is really weak. And I mean, if you look at the cartoon anyway, the animated series, it's such a watered down version of the film.
Because, it's exactly what it is. It's a child's version of the film, isn't it?
I was going to say it's a kid-friendly Saturday morning cartoon of a film which wasn't particularly risque in the first place. You got the odd 69 joke. But
you haven't got the odd 69 joke. You've got the 69 joke, by which all other 69 jokes are now measured. Like, I can't make a 69 joke without going 69, dude. Like,
to be fair, it's very difficult to just say 69 without doing that.
It's the yardstick. Like,
but yeah, I mean, there are a couple of gags in there. You get the one about the stepmother, where she goes from being one stepmother to the other. So you get a couple of bits of that. None of that's in the show in the show because it's a kids version, and I get that. So then what they do for this live action series, and there are only 7 episodes anyway. They're on YouTube. I did put one on earlier, got about 5 minutes in, and went, no.
I'm making a note of this right now. Like I need to watch.
But it's like they've, rather than saying, right, okay, well, we'll make a live action version of shorts of the film, they've gone, we'll make a live action version of the cartoon.
Oh, what?
So it's barely Bill and Ted at this point.
I mean, that must be, well, I'm guessing you're going to tell me it's not, but that must be pretty fucking expensive as well. At least do it properly.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
It's period. Like the whole thing is, and you could do it in animation because Bill and Ted can go to ancient Rome or into the future or wherever they're going to go because it's a cartoon. You just have to draw these things. Now to shoot that though, I'm guessing, I swear to God, have not seen this show or nothing about it. I'm guessing they spend a lot of time in a fucking garage.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because of course you do, because you bring the characters to you rather than you go to the character. Like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, where all of a sudden everything was in the Mario Brothers home.
Yeah,
like
that's where I was going to go.
Because you can't afford the Mushroom Kingdom. So
yeah, I mean they've borrowed the one I saw the start of. They've borrowed a school set.
Okay, so
there's a bit of them in high school, but yeah, I didn't get far enough into
follow
it
the
to
cartoon
a bit.
Right, hang on. I need to see if this thing. Who played Bill and Ted? I need to know this.
Evan Richards played Bill, and Christopher Kennedy played Ted. Now, if you look up the animated series on Wikipedia and you get the link for Christopher Kennedy, it doesn't give you Christopher Kennedy, the actor. It gives you Christopher Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy's son. Oh, so somebody got their citation wrong there.
So it was that good then.
Yeah. Yeah, Evan Richards and Christopher Kennedy. Yeah, it's just fucking awful.
I mean, I'm looking at some screen grabs from it now. Jesus Christ!
Yep.
How did this get made?
Well, I mean, yeah,
they don't even look like
they've made no effort whatsoever. And then, I mean, the fact that they felt that confident in it, they kept it back until Bogus Journey made a profit. Not even that they made it. No, they released it when it came out to coincide. It was not until it made a profit.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well, we're not talking about that, thankfully. We're talking about what I think, anyway, is, or at least the first season was, the very good cartoon show. And look, a lot of successful franchises end up having cartoon spin-offs. You know, we've covered Real Ghostbusters, for instance. That was another good one. But a lot of them end up being kind of shitty. And half-assed. This, I don't think it. I mean, to start with, it has the original cast, or at least the first season.
That's quite a coup.
I mean, yeah, you're talking not height of his fame, Keanu Reeves, admittedly, but you've got fucking Keanu Reeves in an animated show here. Yeah, like that's pretty fucking impressive.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, this was 1990 that they did the first season. So I mean, he's not, as I said, he's not peak of his powers by any stretch of the imagination. But people know he is. Yet. Yeah, no, he's not Neo. He's not even Speed yet. But you know, no. People still know who he is. People still recognize him.
Yeah, so I mean, he's done. Has he done? No, I don't think he's even done Point Break. Is he?
No, I don't think so.
Point Break 92, I want to say. So maybe it was roundabout Point Break.
Well, he'd done My Own Private Idaho at this point. Point Break was 91 as well, so this would have...
It's not a bad guess, was it?
The show would have predated, and it would have predated My Own Private Idaho as well. But yeah, no, he's... did Youngblood in 86, Bill and Ted in 89. No, he's... People know who he is at this point. He's not... he's not Joe Nobody at this point.
No, and I mean, no, it's Alex Winters, for that matter.
Yeah.
Like, Lost Boys has been out by this point.
Yeah.
You know? So, as is Bill and Ted. So, you know, and fucking George Carlin is George Carlin.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's a pretty big coup to start with. But, you know, as if that one wasn't enough, then it's, okay, my feelings on them are mixed, but it's Hanna-Barbera as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like they've just palmed this thing off to any old pile of shit. Like, you know, it's been made by a reputable animation studio as well, and yes, it's got the Hanna-Barbera look to it, which I don't care for. I've said this, I don't care for their animation style, but
and I mean, to be fair as well, you look back, looking back at these, the Hanna-Barbera animation is better than the DiC animation.
Oh, I'm not gonna sit here and rag on this animation. Quite the opposite. As I said, I don't like the Hanna-Barbera style, but I actually think this show, I've watched 4 or 5 of them in preparation for the podcast. I think it's actually quite well animated, and it does kind of have its own vibe as well.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't look. I mean, it's clearly a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but it's not an update of the Flintstones or the Jetsons where everything's kind of the same and they have to use the same style of nose and stuff like that. They've gone out of their way to make this look different and to kind of fit it in with the aesthetic of Bill and Ted, the sort of even the audio, the audio profile and stuff like that. There's a very definite Bill and Ted to it. It's not just them making the same show over and over again.
Yeah, it feels authentic, doesn't it? I think that's the best. The first season, anyway. Yeah,
I mean, the second season, by the time you get into the DiC version that was on Fox, that in itself kind of felt like a watered down version of the first season.
Yeah.
I mean, the writing wasn't as good, the animation wasn't as good, performances weren't as good because they were never going to be. But yeah, it just kind of felt a little bit hokey, and like the fact they introduced the fact that they could. No, the different phone booth that could take them into books, into TV shows. Could shrink them and take them into the human body because inner space. It's they took away what the ethos of the show was. They took away what the core was, which is 2 slackers who can't get anything right go back in history and actually make a good fist of things because they have a manifest destiny.
More often than not, they invent the thing that, so for instance, they'll go back in time to study, I don't know, a particular artifact, and they'll end up somehow getting their face on this artifact because some random chain of events.
So I think there was a thing with the Roman coin, wasn't there, in one?
The Roman coin is like they end up inventing rock and roll in a Back to the Future style because they meet Little Richard. And there's all sorts of stuff like that in there.
Yeah, I mean, one I've remembered for a long time as well, which I haven't seen in the rewatch, but so I'm not sure which series it was. But didn't they remodel the Sphinx as well? Didn't they change the nose on it or something?
Yeah. So there's all sorts of shit like that in there, and I guess that's why in that second season, I don't know why they felt the need to kind of expand it because, I mean, yes, it's a one-note gag, like it's the same story every week, which is the same story as the first film. But that works, and it works on the strength of those characters, and it works on the strength of those performances. Now, so you haven't got those performances in the second season either, which I guess is a problem. But you're not watching Bill and Ted because you want to learn about history. You're watching Bill and Ted because you like Bill and Ted because they are just eminently likable characters. And there's just something. There's something about Bill and Ted as a kind of duo that I just don't think is replicated. Certainly not amongst male characters anyway. It isn't really replicated anywhere else. Like there's no kind of machismo between them. They don't bounce off each other. There's no competition. They're just 2 really nice dudes who are friends, and that's quite refreshing, I think. And that just kind of draws you towards them. And then of course it helps that they kind of stoner metalheads. And
although I did read something the other day where Keanu Reeves has always insisted they're not stoners, they're just like really fucking lazy.
I mean, I guess they're not stoners in the truest sense of the word. Like I don't think they're ever shown to use drugs, even in the films, or even I'm not even sure they drink for that matter. They're just fucking laid back. I mean, they're just Keanu Reeves, isn't it?
Well, that's it. They're just really laid back, and all they really care about is their band.
Yeah,
and they're just like, whatever. School, whatever. Parents.
Yeah. It's just all about Wild Stallions.
Yeah, it's just all about rock and roll. So even to a point where they have a music assignment at school and they've got to learn about classical music. And I think that's the one where they go back and they meet various
different... That's the Little Richard one. Yeah. I watched that one as well.
And it's just... Yeah, like they meet Mozart. And they just go on these, again, like the film, these really random story arcs where they do get involved with these characters, but they're just, as you said, they're just likable characters whereby they're just kind of doing their own thing and they don't really, the rest of it doesn't really bother them. They don't get into the bullshit. They don't have the egos. They don't have the sort of, as you said, that machismo, that sort of testosterone based, one-upmanship or any of that. It is literally just, fine. I'm in a band. Great. we play music. That's it.
There's just something really wholesome and refreshing about them as characters.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, that kind of has been misinterpreted over the years as being stoners, which I think is unfair.
Yeah.
One, because as you say, you never see it. It's never implied or explicitly said. No, there's nothing in there apart from the fact that they are really fucking mellow that suggests they're stoned. But people have always read it that way.
it's also the language as well. Like, they are very eloquent, and that's part of them. That's part of who they are.
Yeah.
They won't use one syllable when 10 will do. And there is something. There's a subsection of stoner culture that exists on that level as well. You know, the kind of mind-bending level where, again, you'll just, why use one word when you can use 20? And there is that to them.
Yeah, I mean, I work with people like that, and they're not stoned. They're just arseholes. Yeah,
but again, they're not assholes. Bill and Ted get away with it. There's a word they throw around a lot. For instance, they won't say something is, I guess the traditional way to go by this, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, you call something heinous or bogus or something. Okay, they do use bogus, but more often than not, it'll be egregious, particularly from Bill.
Yeah, they do use heinous quite a bit.
Yeah, but then more often than not, they'll reach for those larger words.
Yeah,
and you get the impression it's like they probably don't even know what it means. They've just heard it somewhere.
They've heard it and they think they've got the context right.
Yeah,
and more often than not, they have.
Yeah, they won't call each other bud or friend. They'll be compadre or compatriot or again, they've just got these mannerisms that just have always drawn me to them. I just love them as characters, and so to watch them. For what is there in this first season? About 12 episodes, something like that, I think. 13 episodes. There you go. So I've done nearly half the run rewatching it for this. And
again, they're only 20 minutes.
I'll probably finish the run as well because more Bill and Ted is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch the rest of them as well. But just what I've observed from the episodes I've watched is that also we've said you've got. The voice cast is great because it is the original voice cast. The animation is good. I think they're good. The art design as well is good. I particularly like the fact that Ted looks completely different to Bill in that he's got the tiny little dots for eyes and things. And, everybody's got their own design. And, Rufus has got the big shoulder pads and stuff. Yeah. That's all good. But then the writing as well is pretty fucking smart. There are some good gags in here if you look for them. And it's all family friendly. But there are some really good gags in here. One of my particular favorites is in that music episode that you were just talking about, where Rufus is in a record shop when he meets them originally. And as they finish the scene, he turns around and picks up a George Carlin LP. And it's just little things like that just make you chuckle. I think it's really well done.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, when you get into the second season and then the live action one, that kind of drops off.
I watched about 5 minutes of one of those second season episodes, and I was just like, I don't think I want this.
Yeah, I watched the opening of the one in the art museum, which was the opener. No museum, no you don't. Where they, I mean, the second season. If you look at the titles, they're all kind of that sort of pun.
I mean, I love a good pun.
I love a good pun.
That's not a good pun.
No. I mean, the first the first ones are kind of they're punny as well. You've got most excellent Roman holiday, Model T for Ted. They are kind of playing on these film titles, and that's fine. But they just kind of got it's kind of they felt they had to try and one up the first season because it was different people. It was almost as if they did that, so we've got to go one better, and it didn't really work. Some interesting premises. Like there's one of the episodes is called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in Babysitting, and the premise
that's good.
That's pretty good.
I want to watch that already.
The premise is that they overshoot when they're coming back. They overshoot the date and they end up a couple of years early, so they end up babysitting themselves.
That's a really good premise.
Hijinks works quite well. But then, they've got another one. It's a bogus day in the neighborhood where they're trying to convince their Mr. Rogers ripoff not to retire.
Yeah, I mean,
for every hit, there's a miss,
Yeah, it feels, from what you're saying, that second season feels a little bit Muppet Babies in that respect.
Yeah, a little bit.
Of let's just try and skewer pop culture, and some's going to land and some's not. And that was certainly the case when we rewatched Muppet Babies. So it feels like maybe it's that, but without the charm and quality or the Muppets.
Yeah.
You know, what you have got instead is not Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, even things like, as I say, I'm not a particular fan of Hanna-Barbera's animation, but even the animation takes a hit in that.
Yes, it does, yeah.
As well.
It
really is an entirely different show, isn't it?
It is. It's a different show. I mean, so the animation takes a hit, the acting certainly takes a hit, but the writing takes a hit as well. I'm guessing they just replaced the entire fucking lot, because nothing about it, apart from the fact that they're Bill and Ted in name, and they kind of look like them, nothing about them says Bill and Ted. No, it's it's almost as if that Deke cartoon, a bit like the Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters thing, it's almost as if that was set up already, and someone, do you know what? More people would watch this if we made it Bill and Ted. Yeah. And it kind of feels like that. It could be anything. It just happens to be Bill and Ted, and they happen to have thrown a phone box in there as well. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and if Disney had it, this could have been DuckTales instead of DuckTales. You know, they could have had anybody traveling, any character. They could have had Donald Duck traveling back in time and meeting people, fucking up a timeline somewhere. You know? Why is that not a show? Yeah, that's ours. Everybody. But Donald Duck's not ours, so no. If anyone's pitching it, it's us. I mean, I will happily watch a lot of hours of Donald Duck traveling back in history and fucking shit up. Yeah. But I mean, no, it's that sort of thing, and we've talked before many times about why there's a need to animate certain things when they can do it just as well live action. Why there's certain need to shoehorn characters in things, like they did with Tailspin as well. The Tailspin story doesn't have anything to do with Baloo or Louie or Shere Khan. It's just a property they had. Yeah, so they used it. Yeah, and this is the same. This second season feels like that. It's just, we've got Bill and Ted, so we've got the rights to Bill and Ted. Let's use them. And it really does suffer for it. Yeah, it's a shame, because at this point as well, late 80s, early 90s, like I said, I don't think Bill and Ted has ever been a huge franchise, and I think there's more nostalgia for it now. Yeah. Than perhaps we obviously when it first came out, I don't think there was a lot of people latched onto it, but now people look back and go, oh yeah, actually I love that kind of thing. But it was big enough. There was certainly merch. I remember there being a game. Yeah. I remember there being comics. I had the most fucking amazing action figures. Like, two of my favorite action figures I ever had were Bill and Ted action figures. They came with guitars. Each of them had their own guitar, and they had a little amplifier as well. And you had to put a battery in the amplifier, and you had a phono lead that went from, if I remember rightly, the back of the figure rather than the guitar. Yeah. Into the amplifier, and then when you squeezed the figure's legs together, their hand went down, and if you took the guitar out, it did kind of look like they were wanking, so that was fun as well. This was like a double hitter on this toy. But they would bring their hand down, and they would like strike a note on the guitar, and then it would play through the speaker, and the longer you sort of pressed the legs together, the more notes they would play. Now, if you just had Bill or just had Ted, you would only get one half of the song. Because to get the other half of the notes, you had to have the other figure, and you had to have them both at the same time, squeezing their legs together. Which is genius. And then, if you want to be really clever, you could face them towards each other and do it, and they would wank each other off. Brilliant toys.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I'm Bill S. Preston Esquire. And I'm Ted Theodore Logan in concert.
And I make them play.
Speaker connects to figures and most cassette players to make figures play music.
Now on drums, that bodacious barbarian Genghis Khan. Yeah, our new pal from old China. Excellent! Let's rock and roll.
Squeezing their legs gets them jamming.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dudes!
Amazing.
I think that may be something of a design flaw.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe that's just me. Yeah,
probably not. To be fair, probably not.
Probably.
Don't think I ever did that with them.
Probably not. I certainly did. But there you go. They were amazing, and they were fucking huge. These weren't like your little 6-inch. Actually, these things were fucking huge. Brilliant, like amazing figures. So, it was popular. There was merch. The Atari Lynx game was fucking phenomenal. There was this top-down RPG that they had on the Lynx. Excellent. I think if anything,
I think it was more than on the Lynx. I think it was on. I'm fairly sure it was on other platforms as well.
I had it on the Lynx, but maybe it was.
I'm fairly sure it was on the Game Boy as well.
I think there was a Bill and Ted game on the Game Boy, but I think it was different.
Oh, it was different, was it?
Because this is back in the day where different developers could have different licenses for different platforms. So it wasn't necessarily the same. See every early Disney game as well. Lion King, radically different. Aladdin, radically different. And I think Bill and Ted was one of the. Jurassic Park was another one I remember being very different on the Game Boy, for instance, on the NES. Again, better on the Game Boy. Top-down sort of action game. Very, very good.
I had it on the Amiga, and it was like that as well.
Yeah, really, really good. And the Bill and Ted one on the Lynx was excellent as well. It was like this RPG where you travel through time in your phone box, collecting all. It was kind of, if anything, I felt like it was sort of more based on the cartoon than it was on the film, because you did travel to different points in history to pick these things up. Whereas the film, obviously, they went to like 5 or 6 very specific time periods.
Yeah, here you go. There's a Game Boy, NES, and Atari Lynx version, which was loosely based on the film. There was a PC title, and nearly identical Amiga and Commodore 64 ports were made as well. So
was it? So it was the same game then?
Yeah, I think it was. I think they made it, obviously, because they were limited, certainly with the Game Boy, in terms of they didn't have color, they didn't have much in terms of screen to work with. So I think the PC and the computer based versions rather than the console versions were a bit. It was the same developer, but I think it was a bit. There was a bit more effort went into the computer versions.
I might look into that because I loved that game. And I still have my Lynx, but I don't think I have that cartridge, so I might look into that. Anyway, sidetrack again. One of the other things I want to talk about with this show, again, first season to second season, massive drop off. The fucking theme song to the first season, has never left my head. Yeah, and I associate it with Bill and Ted. Yeah, like even if I'm watching the film, the first thing I'll think of when someone says Bill and Ted is Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Adventure. It's just there. It's in my head.
I had the same thing because I was talking to Tori yesterday and she asked what we were doing. And I said, I didn't know they did it. And I broke into the theme tune because I'm an idiot. And she recognized it. Even though she has no recollection of the show, she recognized the theme. It's
a really fucking solid theme tune.
It is.
I think it's a bit of an unsung hero, to be honest. Like we talk about the Jaces and the Ulysses of it all when we talk about theme tunes, and even the Powerpuff Girls. But this one is one I think not so many people know about. But when they hear it, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a fucking good song."
And it's one of those as well. I mean, I sometimes struggle with theme tunes. I mean, obviously by the time these episodes come out, I've listened to it because I check the recordings and stuff. So I've heard it and it's jogged my memory. This one, I didn't need that. And every now and again, I get one of those where I go, oh, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. It's fucking great. And then the other thing I think we need to mention is just the use of CG for the phone box scenes.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty groundbreaking for the time. Like, that shit can't have been cheap. Yeah, that cannot have been cheap to do that phone box. So there was a lot to celebrate in that first season. There was a lot of money thrown at it for what was not a massive film. As I say, it was sizable, but it's not massive. I certainly think Bill and Ted are a bigger commodity now.
Yeah, and I think then. I mean, to be honest, I may be wrong on this, but I'm fairly sure that there was almost kind of like a groundswell with Excellent Adventure. Once Bogus Journey came out, there was a very big hit on the home video market.
I mean, Excellent Adventure was one of those films that found its home on video anyway, wasn't it? Certainly for me it was anyway, but then that would have been because I was probably too young to go and see it at the cinema at the time.
Yeah. But I remember I'd seen it and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, fine. Because I'm not that much younger than you, I'm a little bit younger than you. So I had seen the first one and then we saw the second one. I think we saw it in the cinema. And after that, it was like every time we went to the video shop, we'd get Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
And then when Bogus Journey came out on video, we'd get the two of them and do a double header. And that would probably happen like 3-4 times a year.
I think I've probably seen Bogus Journey more than Excellent Adventure, even though I prefer Excellent Adventure. But Bogus Journey I think was more readily available. I certainly had that a lot from the video shop. It used to frighten the shit out of me. I did not like the granny.
I love the thing of of playing chess with death. Because no, that's the first time I ever encountered that as a trope. No, so that was brilliant because I was just learning to play chess as well.
I mean, not only is it the first time I encountered that as a trope, I cannot associate it with anything else other than Bill and Ted. I know I should go to Seventh Seal. I know I should, but I can't. Whenever I see that, I go to Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
That's just about being that age at that time, and that was the first place you saw it, isn't it? But
yeah,
I associate that with that. I think we are of the exact age that Bill and Ted had a massive imprint on our lives. Is the thing. It would be interesting to see, like, how many people that were sort of just a bit younger than us who were coming to them for the first time in this cartoon then now have nostalgia for them going into Face the Music, as that's just come out at time of recording about 5 or 6 days ago in the UK. No motherfuckers watching it because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But
another fucking lockdown.
Well, yeah, actually, Mark and I are both in the middle of a lockdown, not just a pandemic. Yeah, we are actually
lockdown again
in our home. Yeah. Which I was actually planning to go to the cinema and watch it. I am not now, unfortunately. Because the nearest cinema is outside of my county and I cannot leave my county. So, great. But as we said, it was probably better on home video anyway, or what passes for home video these days. So, yeah, in rewatching this, like I'm finding it difficult to find negative things to say about this show, both because I have emotional baggage with the characters. You know, I care for them a great deal. I had a lot of Bill and Ted merch. The theme tune is fucking awesome, and you all know how much of a mark I am for a good fucking theme tune.
So, I mean, to be fair, this one had you written all over it.
Yeah. There was just no way I wasn't going to love this. I was nervous. I'll be honest. I was nervous rewatching it because, as we've discovered in the past, some of these cartoons that we really, really like, when we go back and watch them, they don't hold up. So I was nervous rewatching this, but I also, and I don't necessarily get this with every show. I know the whole ethos behind the show is fueled by nostalgia, but I don't necessarily get this with every single show. But I do kind of get that warm fuzzy when I watch this. It does take me back to a time and a place, because there was a time roundabout when I was watching this in the early 90s where just about everything was based on another property. So you had Bill and Ted, you had Mario Brothers, you had Sonic, you had Real Ghostbusters, you had all of these cartoons. There was very few original ideas. Whereas, slightly before this, we were getting the likes of Ulysses and Jace, D'Artagnan and the Muskehounds. Okay, I know that's technically based on but you know what I'm saying? Like, we had this glut of original programming.
Yeah.
And then the 90s came along, and it was like, okay, well, Disney's kind of got that fucking sewn up, so give us some of them. Yeah. Give us those characters doing different things. And so we had just loads of it. And it was literally like, what can compete with DuckTales? What can compete with Tailspin? What have we got? What characters have we got that can compete? And I just kind of love that era. And this cartoon specifically, I remember just standing head and shoulders above most of them and being a treat. Because there were so few episodes of the actually good one. And as I say, even at the time, I knew the second season was just not as good.
Yeah, I mean, even as kids, there was a noticeable drop-off.
Yeah, look,
it looked different, it sounded different, and the gags stopped being funny.
Yeah, I mean, we jest about it on this show all the time, but kids really aren't stupid. They're arseholes, but they're not stupid. So, they will
stupid in other ways.
Yeah, you need to give them credit for this kind of shit because they will notice.
Yeah.
And I certainly did, but I remember just loving watching these first season episodes. And they were something to look forward to, and they were something I would rewatch again and again and again. And I get that kind of just summer holiday vibe from them, of just the long summers watching cartoons and playing video games, and it kind of all melds together for me, the Bill and Ted game and having the VHS and this cartoon and the action figures and wanking each other off, and just all of the stuff just melds together for me.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same. I mean, I remember bits of certain episodes. So I remember the bit with the Sphinx's nose. I remember Little Richard, bizarrely. I remember Ted crashing a car. is his father's car. He had a driving lesson in a car, a blue car, and he ends up wrapping it around something like quite spectacularly, as always happens in kid shows because it's animated and you can write off a car with no actual damage. So I remember bits like that, but I don't know. There were when I went back to watch certain episodes, I was like, okay, that's the story this is in. I kind of get that now, and so picking. I mean, when I did sort of rewatch, I think I watched 3 or 4, same as you. And then if you look on YouTube, there are lots of the intro clips for certain episodes. Yeah. So looking at some of those, I remember that one. I remember that one. I mean, the No Museum, No You Don't one, they break the Venus de Milo. Oh, they think they do. They knock it over and there's no arms left on it.
Right. Now I know this episode. Yeah.
So I remembered that as a gag, but I didn't remember the rest of the episode.
But that's a shit episode.
Well,
yeah. I remember that one, but that's one of the shit ones.
That was the first one for season 2.
Yeah. Oh, there you go then.
But like I said, when I've gone back and watched and picking those, the first thing I picked up was right. Well, that looks different, and that was before I did any reading or any research, and before I realized it was a different studio and all the rest of it. You look at it and go, "Hang on, what's this? Is this different? Is this and you start to doubt yourself because you look at we've talked about this before where I know my issues with comic multiverses where you have so many different iterations of Batman, Spider-Man, etc. And I was like, have I missed a show? Is there another show I wasn't aware of? And that was the thing with that one. And then reading about it, you just think, oh well, no, they just fucked it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the multiverse as we've talked about before, but this isn't a multiverse thing. This is and the annoying thing is with a show and with a franchise like Bill and Ted, it would be so easy to do a multiverse if you wanted to do that. It would be very, very easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Parallel timelines and all sorts.
Yeah, there's no reason, and I mean anything to do with time travel in fiction. You can do anything. It's unlimited what you can do, because all you need to do is step on a grasshopper in prehistoric times, and you change the timeline. And so it's so easy to set up those paradoxes, and you can spin off into absolutely anything you want, to a point where Spider-Man is a different person, Batman's a different person. Bruce Wayne's parents didn't die, so there's another divergence. You can have all of these scenarios and still have the same product.
Yeah, or a similar product.
Yeah, and as I said, this was rife for it.
I think unfortunately though, it's more common than you would think. There are quite a lot of these shows that will change production houses, will change animation teams, will change voice talent. Especially the longer runs go on. That does happen. It's just this one is so noticeable. Like there's generally, you can always slightly tell the difference. There will be a drop in quality, but not this massive. Like this, it's such a different show from season 1 to season 2. Yeah. So I guess where I'm coming from with it when I'm saying that is like season 1, I really think it's genuinely excellent. No pun intended. It's fucking excellent.
Yeah.
Season 2's fucking dreadful, to the point where you have to treat it as a different show because, and we have to talk about both of them because that's kind of the point of this show. But
that's it. We always kind of take the good with the bad, don't we?
But everything that first season does well, the second season just flushes down the toilet. The animation is poor, the voice talent is poor, like the theme tune is crap. Everything is completely different. Everything is just shit.
We talked about this first season being like a watered down kid friendly version of the film. The second season is kind of a watered down version of the first film, and that's probably the most praise I can give it, because after that it really goes downhill.
Yeah, I mean, it just once they start like doing Inner Space and shit like that with it, then it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of Inner Space.
And I mean,
I saw that movie when I was really fucking young. I love that movie.
Yeah, so do I. But I mean, even with with Bill and Ted, Bogus Journey had to kind of deviate from the time travel story because there's only so many times you can tell the same story.
Tell that to Doctor
Who. Oh, my feelings on Doctor Who. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Just to clarify, I don't mind some of the Doctor Who stuff, but some of it is a bit much.
I know I'm going to offend some listeners, but I fucking hate Doctor Who. Sorry, just not a fan. Fuck, you've thrown me off topic now.
Sorry.
Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
Right, so you can only tell that time travel story so many times. So Bogus Journey, they started bringing in, going to hell and stuff like that, and the nightmarish visions of it. But you still had those same characters, and you still had those same performers. So as I was saying, the strength of this franchise is those characters and is those performers. The second you remove it, just forget about it. Just if you still had the same cast, I think you probably could have started branching out in the way that they did in season 2.
Yeah,
but it was all just too much without the cast to carry it, and that's probably what I imagine. That's what happened with the live action as well. I really am going to have to track down some live action shows and watch them.
It's all on YouTube. But yeah, it's like I'll qualify that. It's all on YouTube, and I could not find it anywhere else to watch it legitimately.
There's a slight issue with that with this show as well. It tends to happen whenever something is a licensed product. They are a lot more difficult to get hold of. So as you know, we always encourage buying shows where you can. This one, however, I did find incredibly difficult to get hold of. It is available if you search for it, not on YouTube. It is out there if you look for it, but it's not easy. Certainly not. Where were we before that?
Sorry, rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, I was talking about that. Yeah, I'm hitting a lot of fucking rabbit holes tonight. I was talking about the live action thing, and when you first mentioned it, I briefly looked at the logo because I brought it up on IMDb.
Yeah.
Way back in the dark reaches of my mind, I've got a recollection of that logo.
Yeah. No,
I
saw
can't
the
remember
logo.
The show at all.
I saw the logo and thought it was the print from the animated series.
Yeah, I've got a recollection of that logo, but maybe I blocked that fucking live action show from my mind.
I put an episode on and lasted less than 5 minutes, and I had no recollection of what I was watching. It didn't resonate at all. It didn't ring any bells. It wasn't as if I go, have I seen this and hated it already? There was none of that. It was just like, what the fuck am I watching? And it just didn't take at all. But yeah, that logo, for whatever reason, I remember that.
Yeah, so do I.
So whether I'd seen that and I'd seen the show and just fucking repressed it, or whether I've seen that logo and associated it with maybe the second series, because it was we kind of in the same territory at that point. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, that it did strike a chord.
Had I known it existed before doing this pod, I would have tried to watch some of it. Just like I tried to watch some of the second season. I'll be frank. I wanted to watch a lot more of the second season because I remember it being bad. But the problem I've had here is I've enjoyed the first season so much that I started watching the second season. I was like, well, I could watch more of this, or I could just fucking bin it off and watch more of the first season, which I really enjoy, and I'll just talk more excitedly about that instead. So I made the choice to just be like, no, fuck it, I'm going to watch what I'm enjoying, because that second season is just hot trash. So
yeah, I wish I had. I didn't watch a lot of the second season, but I watched a bit. But yeah, it even lacked a lot of the charm. In the first season, you've got every episode. They meet. Obviously, there's a theme. So there's an episode. It's called "The More Heinous They Are, the Harder They Fall," and it's predicated around a story where they're being bullied at school. So they go back in time and they encounter Henry VIII. They encounter Ivan the Terrible, Calamity Jane, and Paul Revere. So they're going through history and looking at these characters where there is an element of bullying, be it on one side or the other. But Paul Revere is never going to be portrayed as a bully on American TV because they fucking love him.
Paul Revere, I'm convinced, Paul Revere only exists in American children's TV shows. I'm convinced.
I've seen his house, so I'll take it that he exists.
You only ever, and you always hear of Paul Revere. Whenever there's a history lesson in an American kids TV show, you get Paul Revere. Everywhere else in the world, you say Paul Revere, it's like, oh, that's the dude from Bill and Ted. I went to Boston in November last year, and I was aware of Paul Revere, but I couldn't remember exactly what for. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole thing that they've got the whole Freedom Trail through Boston, and you go through all the various sites of the various revolutions and various battles and all the rest of it. And part of that trail takes you out to Paul Revere's house. And there's monuments and all sorts of fucking things outside. There's statues and plaques, and it's a big deal, leading up to the Boston Tea Party and also the revolutionary stuff that happened in Massachusetts. But outside of there, not fucking clear. You could probably go. I'd imagine you could go to New York
and asked people who Paul Revere was, and they wouldn't have a fucking clue.
Yeah, they wouldn't know. He's the guy from the Bill and
Bill and
Ted
Ted.
children's TV show. Yeah, or see any other, as I say, TV show that decides to have a history episode. Like, fucking always Paul Revere. Always. I know more about Paul Revere than I know about some fucking people in British history. Like, that is because I watch so much American TV, admittedly. But he's just the go-to guy for like, oh, we need to do a historical episode. Who's it going to be about? Oh, I don't know. Fuck it. Paul Revere. Just copy what they did on Bill and Ted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, now I'd imagine now it would be Alexander Hamilton for a while, won't it?
Oh, it's got to be now, isn't it? You just switch them out, I suppose, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, different part of the country and no, very similar story, though.
Now, answer me this, though, because this is something that, I don't know, is this shaky ground? No, it's
Probably.
not. No, it's not. No, this is fine. So if they're going to use Alexander Hamilton now in children's TV programs, for instance, instead of Paul Revere. Okay, now the pop culture representation of Alexander Hamilton.
I knew you were going to say that.
You knew where I was going, right? You know where I'm going here, right?
Yeah.
So how do they get around that? Because are people going to recognize a white Hamilton?
Yes, because he's on their $10 bill.
Yeah, but do they associate that with Hamilton?
I mean, it'll take a while. I mean, I think it's a $10 bill. It might be a different note, but he's on their currency somewhere. I don't know is the answer. I mean,
it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. You know, has that become such a cultural phenomenon that it is able to kind of rewire our perception of these? You know,
potentially. I mean,
Jesus, for instance.
Well,
Jesus
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
right?
Jesus was Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
but because of the way that Jesus has been appropriated by Europeans in the Catholic Church, and other churches are available. Jesus is a pale-skinned white man with blue eyes and a brown beard, but he was Middle Eastern.
So is that now going to happen
with Hamilton? Maybe. I don't know is the answer.
Interesting, isn't it?
Not only with Hamilton, but you look at some of the supporting characters. I mean, George Washington's always been portrayed as very, very thin, very pointed nose, pointed jaw, the powdered wig, and all that stuff. You come to Hamilton now, where he's this big fucking 6-foot linebacker with a bald head.
Yeah.
And for at least a generation, that is going to be what George Washington looks like.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because there are going to be generations that, you know, whilst they're trying to be taught this stuff in school, they're going to have been exposed to Hamilton.
Yeah, and whether they've
especially
seen
now
the
it's
show,
on Disney Plus.
Well, I was going to say whether they've seen the show live, or they've seen a recording, or they've heard a recording. No, there will be this association. I mean, I didn't know a great deal of Hamilton's story, but I remember somebody recommended the soundtrack for it. So I listened to it, and I thought, okay, well, it's interesting. It's a very different take. It's not what I expected from a Broadway musical. But in there, there's the fact he's from a Caribbean island and he's an immigrant. So it automatically conjures up images, because of the time where you're looking at slavery and things like that. Automatically conjure up images, and then you've got John Lawrence and saying about introducing a black battalion to the American forces and things like that. So all of a sudden you're thinking, hang on, was he black?
Yeah,
and. Without any degree of prejudice or care, you're thinking, hang on a minute, I didn't expect that, because, I mean, American racism, let's not touch that one, but certainly in the late 1700s, slavery was a thing, whereas now it's just, you shoot the fuckers instead. I'm not endorsing it, I'm just saying that's what's happening.
But I mean, it is fascinating to think of, and I think there's a whole aspect of Hamilton which, you know, in terms of its cultural impact, that perhaps people haven't started to realize with that yet, and that is a wonderful thing. If it can accomplish that, if it can make an entire generation completely colorblind, then that is a wonderful thing. But I don't know if it will. So if that's what I'm trying to get at, is it going to make them colorblind, or is it just make them going to turn around and go, hang on a minute, he's not white? In which case you've undone all the good that you've done with the mixed race cast that you have in Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, I read an interview with Lin-Manuel Miranda. We are way off topic at this point.
We are so far. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, I'm sorry, listeners. We've gone down a broad way.
This is what we do. I mean, Christ, we're 60 episodes in at this point. You kind of know us by now.
I don't think we've gone on a musical hole as of yet on this show, though. I've been pretty good at avoiding this. I'm horrible musical dude as well.
But yeah, I mean, I read an interview with him, and he was saying that he was reading a biography, and then he kind of, once he got to a certain point, he figured there was a musical in it, and it would be well told as some form of pseudo hip hop, and that was fine. But his overriding thing in writing was that he didn't want a stuffy middle-aged white cast, because that's not representative of what most people in America see now. So there's and yes, okay, for the sake of historical accuracy, yes, most of the characters in that probably were middle-aged and white, but it doesn't suit current scenario. It doesn't suit the current cultural profile of America. So it's a very brave thing to have done anyway.
Yeah.
It was a ballsy move, but I think, and I certainly think they got away with it. But I mean, yeah, you do run that risk of, they did Avenue Q as well. They made the joke about Jesus being black, Jesus being white. No, Jesus was Jewish. And it's that same sort of thing, whereby at what point do you start rewriting history, intentionally or otherwise?
That's kind of what I'm getting at, yeah. And that is on topic, because Bill and Ted do rewrite history on the regular in the show.
Well, yeah. So we brought that back around.
Yeah, totally. That was smooth. So I was just waiting to stick that landing all along. But no, I think that's an interesting point, and it's something I've thought about quite a bit, because I listen to Hamilton quite a bit.
I'm not generally a hip hop fan, but I quite like. I'm not a fan of hip hop or musicals, but I quite like it.
I mean, okay,
it's bizarre for whatever reason it takes.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it just kind of stuck.
I do like both, so I was always going to mark for it, particularly old school hip hop, not your modern rubbish. No, but now I sound like an old man. So moving on. Fucking hell, that was so far off topic. I genuinely can't remember how the hell we got there or what Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. Yeah, so we're talking about I mean, and I can almost remember the point I was on before we got on to Paul Revere. Even the episodes in the first season, the people they met were more iconic, and they were far more able to tie it into a theme. Whereas the second season, they kind of had to they really had to reach to kind of sell the episode.
Well, it's because again they went down that thing of they didn't have the strong anchor of, like, okay, there's a Roman coin, so they need to go back and see Caesar, and then while they're there, they're going to invent Caesar salad dressing and the toga party.
Yeah.
And then, okay, they need to go back and learn about classical music, so they intend to go back to meet Beethoven and end up meeting Little Richard, and then Little Richard and Beethoven team up and end up writing the first rock and roll song. There's a few things here, okay? Where that gives you a strong anchor, it gives you a strong 3-act structure. They have a problem, they travel back in time, they solve the problem. Yeah. Traveling time, get caught in some shit, solve the problem. Usually Rufus has to show up and bail them out of it, but that gives you a strong 3-act structure to start with. We've got high school, because it's always a problem at school. And we've said, I don't know how many times on this show,
it's
high
universal,
school is
isn't
universal, right? We can all relate to that. Oh, there's a big test tomorrow. We haven't revised. We're going to flunk it. But we can't flunk it, because if we flunk it, then we won't graduate high school, and then we won't write the song that's going to change the world. So we have to go back. Right. Yeah. Okay. So that works. That's going to anchor you. Yeah. And then it's also like week on week, you know what you're tuning into. You're tuning into a show where you're going to watch them travel back in time, have some laughs.
Yeah.
And it's like the good Fonzie and the Happy Days gang, essentially. Whereas when it's this weird thing where they just, I don't know, the phone box just became kind of this magical interdimensional thing.
They kind of changed the name of it as well as the mechanic. They called it the Squint phone box.
What?
Where did I read that?
What's that meant to me.
I don't know. The new episodes introduce a squint phone booth that could take Bill and Ted into literature, television shows, and after shrinking them inside the human body. So I guess because they're squinting into things, they're looking into things. I've really borrowed that from Bones because that's what they call the scientists. They call them squints because they're always looking into things. But that's the only thing I can think of. But it just seems really fucking random.
That's terrible.
And it's terrible, but it's a terrible fucking idea as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you're meeting, and this is a problem that Doctor Who has in historical episodes as well, whereby the world you're in, you can go back and meet an author or a creator or an artist, but you can't go into their product because that's a product in the timeline. It's not part of the timeline. So you wouldn't
fiction.
go back. Yeah. That you wouldn't go back and, for example, you wouldn't find yourself in the middle of Romeo and Juliet. You might find yourself in Shakespearean times, or you might find yourself in Verona, where there is a battle between two noble families. But
Which
it's not
inspired Romeo and Juliet. Yes,
but it's not. Yeah. No, it's not that. But this just seems to be like, oh well, yeah, we've run out of ideas, so we're just kind of going to try and tack it on to things that people will know.
Yeah, and because it's Bill and Ted, it'll sell.
Yeah, that's it. The
Sad,
fact
really.
it only got 8 episodes kind of says how shit it was.
So in total, we've got 20 episodes over the 2 shows.
21.
21.
And 7 of the live action one.
I might do the run of this, I'll certainly do the run of the first season.
Do the run of the first season and see how you feel.
I'll see if I can. I could only do like 5 minutes of that second season to start with.
What I would suggest if you're going to do that is skip the first one, because the first one was the museum episode with the Venus de Milo.
Right. Okay.
Skip that one and see how you get on with the next one, which is.
No, I've got to watch it. If I'm going to do the run, I've got to watch it, and I'll let you know how I get on, listeners. I'll let you know if I get through any of that second season.
I mean, the Excellent Adventure in Babysitting is the penultimate episode.
That's the one I want to see, definitely.
So you in that case, earn it. Get all the way through it, and then you've earned it. And then there's one after it, which I have no idea what it's about.
I mean, that's a brilliant premise, and Adventures in Babysitting is a fucking wonderful film. So,
yes.
Well, actually, it's not. It's actually pretty bad, but I love it.
I love it.
So, yeah.
I've seen it so many fucking times.
Yeah, so have I. So I'm well up for getting to that. But yeah, all kind of joking aside, I think this is genuinely one of the better shows that we've watched in a while.
Well, the first season is.
The first season is, yeah. And I think it's just because it's such a quality product. I think it's that kind of rare situation where somebody has got hold of a license and understood that license. They haven't just cashed in. They've understood everything that made that license what it is, everything that got them to the table in the first place, and they've capitalized on it. Yeah. And I think that's very, very rare.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look. I can't see. There's not a lot of information about who was involved in the back end of the first season, the Hanna-Barbera season, in terms of who the connection with the film. The cast is there, but I'm struggling to find information on who produced it, who directed it, who wrote it, etc., and what their connection is. But yeah, you do get the impression that they, and certainly the cast at this point, because I mean the cast will have lived and breathed these characters for however many months it took to shoot it. They understood the characters, they understood the world or the universe they'd created.
Yeah.
Whereas the second season was kind of like, right, okay, well, we've just bought this property, we don't really know what to do with it, except we know we have to put a show out. What can we do? And they changed the scope. They changed what the show was about. And I think part of that's because they didn't really understand what it was to begin with. And yeah, it just kind of pissed on it a little bit. And I think it's a real shame because the first season, as we said, the first season was excellent. It was the concept was good, the execution was good, and then the second season they just didn't get it. And I think that's probably the most disappointing thing, is that there's so much they could have done. And we talked earlier about the infinite possibilities with anything to do with time travel.
Yeah,
you can literally do anything in that show, but for whatever reason they decided to go away from that and go, right, okay, well, instead of going through time, we'll travel through popular culture. Which is fine if that's the show you set up in the first place.
But then don't you feel like that is the show, perhaps, that Fonzie and the Happy Days gang should have been? Instead of traveling through time, Fonzie and the Happy Days gang should have traveled through popular culture, because you'd have probably watched the Fonz just in his way through, Romeo and Juliet or whatever they're going to do.
To be honest, I'd have rather watched them travel their way through a blender.
I mean, I'd rather watch anything than Fonzie and the Happy Days gang, to be fair. But that would have worked better.
Yeah.
Had they?
Because again, they're fictional characters existing in a fictional world, so that's fine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Bill and Ted are not real.
Well, no,
I hate to break that to you, but
but no, it's played in such. They have real problems. They have a real life that this kind of pushes them into. Whereas the whole, aside from being just a really fucking poor effort at animated Quantum Leap, Fonzie and Happy Days gang just didn't have that, because these were Fonzie was a secondary character in a show that had run its course at this point, so people didn't really relate to it, and they could have. No, there would have been that much more acceptance, I think, as you said, of seeing Fonzie turn up in Romeo and Juliet and try and fuck Juliet, because it's Fonzie, turn up in Scooby Doo. Yeah, turn up in Scooby Doo and try to fuck Daphne, because that's what that show was about. It's him trying to score across the fucking cosmos. Yeah, that would have worked fine. But yeah, it just, for whatever reason, it didn't tap into Bill and Ted, because there were only 13 episodes in a film, so it's not as if there was a massive history of it. I mean, there was more Happy Days than there was of this.
No,
but for whatever reason,
it's not this huge cultural juggernaut of a franchise.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, it seems to have lost what character it had in the space of 13 episodes.
Yeah, bizarre. Yeah, utterly bizarre that they could have taken something, especially when the template was there. The first season template was there. Yes, you've lost the cast. Yes, that's a big blow. But just do the same thing with sound-alikes, and okay, it's not going to be as good, but you're at least half the way there. You're never going to get the other half, because, as I say, I think for me, a whole part of what makes Bill and Ted is the relationship and the chemistry between those two leads. But you can at least get the rest of it. You can at least have them carry on traveling through times and learn the lessons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. For me, season 1 should like 2 big thumbs up. Like absolutely everybody. Yeah, Fonzie style thumbs up. Everybody absolutely go and watch it.
Yeah.
Watch out for Paul Revere. Motherfucker's guaranteed to be in there.
Yeah, like episode 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah. So just absolutely go and give it. Well, unless of course you don't like Bill and Ted, in which case forget about it. Yeah, in which case, well done for making it like an hour into this podcast where we've done nothing but talk about Bill and Ted.
That's not true. And Hamilton
for a period of time. Yeah. And wanking and circle jerking. And
like any other week then, really, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like 2 thumbs up, absolutely go and track it down. You'll have a ball watching it, I guarantee. I don't think you need to necessarily have nostalgia for Bill and Ted. I think the show is that good. I think you can come to the characters fresh in this show without having seen the film, because they give you everything you need. And the premise is simple. They have a time traveling phone box.
And it gets them out of trouble. They go back in time. Well, they move around in time, because they go forward and back. And it they learn lessons they can apply in their real everyday lives.
It's cool Doctor Who, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
What Bill and Ted is. Sorry, Doctor Who fans.
There's an animation I saw the start of on YouTube earlier, where Doctor Who meets Bill and Ted, and basically the two phone boxes are traveling through time at in the same place in the space time continuum, and they bang into each other, and they both think they're under attack.
Nice.
It's not official of anything. It's not an endorsed product at all. But that was quite fun. I'll send you a link to it. I'll put it in the post as well. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm the same. I first season, great. Second season, don't bother. I don't really think there's much else to say on that one.
I don't think it's I find it sometimes it's quite difficult when we enjoy these shows so much. It's easier when there's a lot to rag on. It's easier to talk for an hour about Fonzie and the Happy Days gang, which is just appalling, because I'm quite happy to just rip on it. It's very difficult to find something bad to say about the first season of this show, and the second season was so bad that I couldn't make it through more than 5 minutes. So, like, this is just a good time. I enjoy it. 2 thumbs up from me. Go and watch some, and especially, you know, if you have any love for Bill and Ted, and God knows if you did, you're Paul Revere, and God knows if you didn't before, you probably will once, you know, the new film hits, and people start picking up on that. So who knows? Maybe this thing will even get a re-release. I hope it does, because I might be tempted to pick these up if they get a re-release.
Well, they were released on DVD.
Were they?
Yeah. In 2013, TGG Direct and the license for MGM Home Entertainment released a 2-disc best of DVD. Disc 1 has most of the episodes from season 1, although 5 are missing, while Disc 2 has a complete second season.
So not a best of at all?
No. Although it does appear that it was America only. It's a Walmart exclusive, but now it's available nationwide. I'll see if I can track it down.
eBay. I will find it on eBay.
The first episode of the first season released a special feature on Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Collection DVD box set and on the Blu-ray of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So the pilot's quite easy to get hold of. Yeah, if you've got a Blu-ray of Excellent Adventure. Yeah, or the Most Excellent DVD Collection box set, which is the 2 films. I was going to say Most Excellent DVD Collection. 2 fucking films, that is. That's not a collection. That's 2. That's not even a box set. That's 2 fucking films. I mean, fuck me. You put a flipper in there. It's 1 disc. Like, they're only like 90 odd minutes or something. Yeah. Fucking hell. That's. Fuck, I'd forgotten about flipper DVDs. I still have quite a few flippers. I've only got 2. I think Goodfellas is one. Goodfellas are a fucking pain in the arse of a flipper. Yeah. What's the other one? I've definitely got another one, but I can't remember what it is. I think it's only the 2 I've got. Most of those early releases, particularly Warner and MGM, they used to come in those fucking cardboard jewel case things. I fucking hated those. Most of them were flippers. I fucking hate them. But I'm just looking at all my DVDs are off to the left here. I've got so many of those crappy cardboard things that with the plastic hinge. Yeah, that's the ones. Yeah, and they don't fucking stack properly. No, but you can fit a lot in a shelf. You can. Mine all stacked on the floor at the moment because the shelves are behind me. But they offer your discs absolutely zero fucking protection because they get dusty as fuck in those things. Anyway, way off topic once again. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts on flippers, listener. Not the things you wear in the water. And not the dolphin. Yeah. That may be another show another time. The early DVDs we're talking. If you have anything good to say about flippers, then what's wrong with you, basically? But yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else to say. So I mean, we'll hand it over to you, listeners. If you agree with us, if you remember this, if you like it, you hate it, let us know. Get in touch with us. Let's say we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at SMPDPod. You can go to our website, ddpodcast.net, where you can find our previous episodes, our other shows as well. On Facebook with the Double Down Podcast Network. Wherever you get your podcast from, be it Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and now Amazon Music as well, because we're on there as well, finally. Like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, and we'll get back to you as best we can. Until next time. Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.